Hello, good evening, and many thanks for being with us on the news on NT International. I'm Chimobi Walter Naji. First, let's go with the headlines. Leadership of House of Representatives urges labor unions to suspend planned protest and industrial action. Federal government to leverage on tourism to take development to grassroots as World Max Tourism Day. WHO hails Prime Minister Narendra Modi's assurance of using India's vaccine production capacity to help nations fight COVID-19. And now the news in details. As activities marking the 60th independence anniversary have continued with an interdenominational church service. The service has as its theme, Together, Come Let's Build, in a sermon titled The Crucial Need of Nigeria to Attain Greatness at 60, current President Reverend Samson Oyekunle says crucial love and unity of purpose is key to Nigeria's greatness.
We need to give glory to God at this unique time of Diamond Jubilee anniversary of our nation. Despite the internecine war of 1967 to 1970, despite the political upheavals, despite the travails of bad economy, insecurity, unemployment, and recently COVID-19 pandemic, Nigeria is still one as a nation.
This anniversary, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, calls for a rebirth of the Nigerian nation, and no group is more qualified to lead it than our religious bodies. I therefore charge the Christian Association of Nigeria to provide leadership to its faithfuls in making Nigeria the great nation that it has been destined to be.
Special prayers were offered for continued peace, unity and development of the nation. And now to labor matters, as the leadership of the House of Representatives has urged labor unions to suspend for at least a week or two the planned mass protest and strike action over the increase in petrol pump price and electricity tariff. National Assembly correspondent Lami Ali reports that the appeal came during a meeting with the Nigeria Labour Congress NLC, which went into closed door.
It was another effort to avert the planned nationwide shutdown by the organized labor in protest over the recent increase in pump price of petrol and electricity tariff. House Speaker Femi Gbajabiamila says the strike action, if allowed to hold, will affect the economy, adding that the masses, whom all want to protect, are the group that will in the end bear the consequences. He said a meeting will be held with the executive to re-strategize on how best to cushion the impact of these policy decisions on Nigerians.
We can't go on this strike. I'm going to be very, we can't. In good conscience. I believe in the next couple of weeks, or less, the budget will be presented. Many of these things have a lot to do with the budget. We will definitely interface at this point. We'll definitely seek a meeting again with the executive. We'll reiterate our position. But in the meantime, we would want to appeal to you, quite honestly, only for no other reason but for those people out there that.
President of the Nigeria Labour Congress, Ayuba Waba, commended the leadership of the House of Representatives for the last-minute intervention, noting that the increase in pump price and electricity tariff have negative impact on the well-being of Nigerians. The meeting went into closed door, at the end of which Labour gave its stand.
If the issues are not addressed, you are aware that we have given a notice, and that notice will certainly expire by tomorrow.
From the National Assembly, Lami Ali, NTA News.
Meanwhile, Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed says Nigeria will leverage tourism in its efforts to take development to the grassroots. The minister stated this in a statement to mark the 2020 World Tourism Day, which has the theme Tourism and Rural Development. He said the theme, in the words of the United Nations World Tourism Organization, celebrates tourism's unique ability to drive economic development and provide opportunities outside of big cities, including in communities that would have otherwise been left behind, saying tourism plays an important role in preserving and promoting culture and heritage all around the world. This is why Nigeria is leveraging on the sector to take development to the grassroots by ensuring that communities own and benefit from the cultural heritage and tourist attraction in their domain. He added that the plan by the federal government to establish community museums is part of efforts to ensure that local communities benefit from the tourism, and occasion of the 2020 World Tourism Day presents an opportunity for stakeholders to reflect on the impact of the COVID-19 global pandemic, which has hit the sector hard and also stepped down the national celebration of the day. Tourism, therefore, Lai Mohammed said, if properly harnessed, will help rural communities make the transition from agrarian to a diversified and sustainable economies. Lai Mohammed expressed the hope that all the relevant sectors will fully integrate and promote all the recovery recommendations and deliverables developed to support the recovery efforts. Now, the WHO hails Prime Minister Narendra Modi's assurance of using India's vaccine production capacity to help nations fight COVID-19, just as Israelis protest despite coronavirus lockdown. Joyce Ometu has a global update on the pandemic.
In the outgone week, Nigeria witnessed a slight increase in the number of new coronavirus cases. Data published by the Nigeria Center for Disease Control indicates that from September 20 to 26, a total of 1,053 new cases were reported, as against the 968 recorded in the preceding week. The increase, however, occurred despite a reduction in the number of tests carried out. The NCDC said cases have reached 58,198, with 49,722 patients discharged, while fatality figure is 1,106. In Africa, out of the 1,461,442 cases recorded, 35,126 infected persons have died, while 1,208,091 have recovered. The number of people who have died from COVID-19 globally have exceeded 1 million. Data by Worldometer as at 6 p.m. Nigeria time show that 33,181,180 cases have been confirmed, while 24,506,181 of the number have recovered. Meanwhile, as Israel faces one of the world's worst coronavirus outbreaks, thousands of Israeli protesters have gathered again to demand the resignation of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Now, this is coming a day after the country tightened its lockdown aimed at stemming surging coronavirus cases. In the meantime, World Health Organization Chief Tedros Ghebreyesus has lauded India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi's assurance that his country will use its COVID-19 production capacity in helping nations fight COVID-19. In France, health leaders have warned that the latest wave of the pandemic could overwhelm the country amid exhaustion on the part of health workers. Reports say that a third of the new clusters are in schools and universities. And that's a global update on COVID-19. I am Joyce Ometu.
Many thanks, Joyce, for that package. Now, as the world continues to fight against COVID-19, imagine a scenario where a time for hand washing is included on the school timetable daily as schools prepare to reopen. Olanka Ojo in this special report takes a look at the commitments of critical stakeholders in terms of safe school reopening.
Before now, the Federal Ministry of Education, The United Nations Children Education Fund and the Nigeria Center for Disease Control met and developed the school readiness template, where what should be in place for schools to reopen was clearly stated.
1. Have hand washing facilities. 2. Body temperature checks, maintenance of the highest level of hygiene, and ensure social stroke physical distancing in class sizes and meeting spaces.
These key stakeholders in this auditorium are taking a critical look at the template as well as what works for them collectively, which is hinged on 4 pillars.
For safety operations in school, for recovery of learning lost, for protection and well-being of children, and to ensure inclusiveness of every child.
Known as an integrated approach to safe return to school, the template is derived from the school reopening guidelines. While rebuilding the confidence of parents on the need for school to reopen, these key players applauded government's idea of setting up a school monitoring health team.
Children must be put on proper perspective to ensure that even after COVID, they learn at home under the guidance of their parents or teacher that could be sourced outside.
That there are a lot of provisions that we need in our schools before resumption. For example, water. Let the SDMC, together with the school and the community, make sure they provide this.
Our curriculum should be blended to enable us to cover the content in our curriculum.
Earlier, policymakers from the education and health sectors at the dialogue stressed the need for a catch-up term to enable for syllabus to be covered. Olainka Ojo, NTA News.
Now, the now popular use of the term new normal is in itself novel and has continued to evolve as the global community adapts to measures initiated to contain the coronavirus pandemic. Onengie Fineface puts into perspective an aspect of this new normal with attention on safety and effective regulations.
With COVID-19 came new ways of doing things. What has now become popular as the new normal refers to a wide range of behavioral patterns. Some new, others were enforced. They include, but not limited to, wearing face masks, keeping spatial distance from other people, an act commonly referred to as social distance, regular temperature checks, hand washing with soap and running water, and use of alcohol-based hand sanitizers. There is also a popularized practice of decontamination of surfaces and open spaces. The new normal has metamorphosed further into technologies that were alien to many societies, one of which is disinfection cubicle used as a walk-through human decontamination machine.
The new normal has compelled us to different things, so we have to do everything to prevent the spread of this virus. So everything, we just have to indulge the inconveniences as it is and then go through it.
It's actually interesting. It's not something you find common everywhere. In all we do, safety first. So if it's petty that my makeup might be altered, but it doesn't affect.
While sanitizers are applied to the hand, disinfection cubicles release chemicals to the entire body, which begs the question, is it safe?
For instance, WHO has a standard for if you are using chlorine-based dilution, you use 1 part per million. Every manufacturer, every company knows that. So if it is used according to that formulation, according to that protocol, it will not pose any harm, or the harm will be very minimal.
In the absence of sophisticated models, local alternatives are used, but how are they monitored to ensure compliance with standards in the chemicals applied?
The Ministry of Environment is responsible for the issue of enforcing standards. So it is a responsibility of we as the regulators to make sure that all the formulation that is being used has followed the issue of followed the international standard.
The fact that there is still no cure or vaccine for COVID-19 means humanity must adapt to the new normal, but one can never be too careful, even in adaptation. Onengie Fineface, NTA News.
And role modeling may be the most effective method for change, and leaders must make deliberate and conscious plan for succession. Now, these were some of the issues highlighted at the 5th dialogue series put together by the Nigeria Prize for Leadership with the theme Rethinking Leadership, Role Modeling, Mentoring, and for raising transformational leaders in Nigeria. Haman Jabani was a part of the webinar and now reports.
Positive role models is believed to influence and motivate actions in the discovery of hidden true potentials and overcome weakness to make life more meaningful. All great leaders, sportsmen and high achievers have one thing in common. They all have positive role models whom they strive to emulate in some way, and they have eventually contributed in shaping their lives. These are what the 5th dialogue series put together by Nigerian Prize for Leadership wants Nigerians to imbibe while aspiring to become better leaders.
And if you have not given him the kind of leadership you want for the nation, he will turn out influenced by the wrong leaders in our system.
It's only a leadership that is sensitized to the necessities of leadership that can actually create the vista for what we have called transformatory leadership.
They emphasize the need to learn from history, engage people who are not just willing to serve, but able to serve, bearing national interests at heart.
The criteria into public service need to be reviewed and reinvigorated to all for the employment of the right people that could be groomed and molded into transformational leaders.
Leaders must be against injustice. They are people who do not support any vision or process that encourages or perpetrates social injustice.
The 6th dialogue series comes up on the 30th of October. Haman Jabani, NTA News.
All right, you're still watching the news on NTA International. We shall take a break now and be back in a moment. Stay with us. Now, the All Progressives Congress Governors Forum has commiserated with the people and government of Borno State over the unfortunate attack of Saturday, September 26, 2020, on the 2 convoys along Maiduguri-Baga Road of Borno State, one belonging to Governor Babagana Umar Zulum and the second belonging to the Committee on Baga Reconstruction. The forum, in a statement by its chairman and governor of Kebbi State, Abubakar Atiku Bagudu, described the attack, which has resulted in the unfortunate death of precious lives of security personnel and innocent citizens, as unfortunate. The APC governors joined Governor Zulum and all Nigerians to pray for the repose of the souls of all those who lost their lives and encouraged Nigerians to be strengthened by the determination of Governor Zulum to expedite peace-building process in Borno State and indeed the whole of Northeast. The progressive governors have called on federal governments to immediately provide more logistical support to security agencies deployed to Borno State to ensure speedy return to normal life and pledged their continued support and commitment to the security agencies to end all activities of Boko Haram in all parts of Nigeria. And similarly, the People's Democratic Party has condemned last Friday's fresh attack on the convoy of Borno State Governor Babagana Zulum by insurgents, resulting in the killing of security operatives attached to the governor. A statement from the party's National Publicity Secretary, Kola Olagbondiyan, says the repeated attack on the governor as well as the rising wave of terrorist attacks reinforce apprehension of security compromises and lapses which underpin the necessity to immediately rejig the nation's security apparatus. This is particularly with Governor Zulum's insistence that the security architecture in the northeast axis is being compromised. The party commiserates with the Governor Zulum as well as the families of the victims of the incessant attacks and urged the governor not to be deterred. The PDP also salutes the gallantry of the nation's troops fighting in the fronts despite all odds and urged Nigerians to remain prayerful and alert at this trying time. Meanwhile, as part of the build-up to the December 2020 pilgrimage, the Nigerian Christian Pilgrims Commission has inaugurated a 12-man federal medical committee that will take care of the intending pilgrims in the Holy Land. Omenka Amarachuku reports that the Executive Secretary of Commission, Reverend Yakubu Pam, performed the inauguration ceremony in Abuja.
I hereby inaugurate you in the name of God the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.
That word of charge set the tune of the inauguration of the federal medical team that is expected to take care of the intended pilgrims in the Holy Land. The 12-man committee is expected to ensure strict compliance to COVID-19 protocols and handle all medical cases during pilgrimage operation in Nigeria, Israel, Greece and Rome.
Let them be ambassadors that would give us a good name, even outside there when we are traveling to Jerusalem, to other parts of the world. And then let them put their best, especially when it comes to the selection after the examination. When they mark it, let them be strict to make sure that those who will be taken from state, let it be in deeds. They do not favor anybody based on I know him or I know her.
We are going to abide strictly by those protocols to ensure the safety of all our pilgrims and indeed of the Nigerians that will follow us to Israel for the pilgrimage.
The committee will also serve as resource person for the 2020 Federal Medical Team orientation. In Abuja, Omenka Marachuku, NTA News.
And sequel to sustained aerial bombardments and clearance operations by troops of Operation Lafia Dole in the northeast, 13 suspected Boko Haram terrorists alongside 6 women and 17 children from Kodila village have surrendered to troops at Banki Junction in Bama local government area of Borno State. A statement by the coordinator, Defense Media Operations, Major General John Enenche, indicates that the suspects are currently undergoing thorough profiling and investigation in line with global best practices. Major General Enenche notes that the armed forces of Nigeria and other security agencies are committed to sustaining the tempo of the operations. And President Muhammadu Buhari felicitates with frontline journalists and columnist Chief Duro Onabule as he turns 81. The president lauds Onabule's more than 50 years contribution to journalism and incisive public commentary, which has gone a long way to inform and educate the public and shape government policies and programs. President Buhari in a statement urged him to continue sharing knowledge and expertise with younger generation of journalists. Chief Onabule, who served as Chief Press Secretary to Military President Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida for 8 years, is currently Chairman of the Board of Nigerian Television Authority. The President wishes him longer life in good health and prosperity. Similarly, President Muhammadu Buhari has mourned Gabriel Igbanugo, who is 95, a man who he fondly used to call Daddy when he was General Officer commanding the 3rd Armored Division of the Nigerian Army, Jos Plateau State. In a statement signed by the Special Advisor to the President, Media and Publicity, said Ibanugo was the principal education officer at Command Secondary School, Jos, and had a close and amicable relationship with him then. The president commiserates with the Ibanugo family, urging them to take solace in the fact that their patriarch lived to a ripe old age and touched the lives of countless number of people that came across his way. We'll now turn our attention to sports, where Manchester City lost 2-5 to Leicester City. Tottenham and Newcastle played a 1-1 draw as Leeds won at Sheffield United by a long goal. Also in the 3 EPL matches decided on Sunday. For other sports reports, over to Amanzi Marcus on Sports Update.
A feeder team player of Wiki Tourist Football Club of Bauchi and the club's driver have tested positive to coronavirus and are in isolation receiving treatment. Secretary of the club Abdullahi Ibrahim, who revealed that only the 2 returned a positive test result out of 66 players and officials, explained that the remaining 64 are preparing for the return of football activities as they are working towards achieving at least a 4th place finish at the end of the 2020-2021 NPL first season. In a related development, Nigeria is on the path of making history as the first African country to invent another style of football game known as hybrid football, which has different rules and 24 players, including 2 goalkeepers on either side of the pitch. The inventors, who have been on the project since the year 2003, say hybrid football has the capacity to empower football-loving youth across the world.
We are looking at a new kind of game that will come from Africa so that we can have something to showcase to the world.
So we want the Nigerian government through the Ministry of Sports and Youth Development to drive this whole idea, to bring in experts so they can bring out the best of it.
In tennis, Italy's Yannick Sinner, ranked 74, pulled through a major upset in the opening day of the French Open, beating 11th seed David Goffin 7-5, 6-love, 6-3, throwing the Belgian out of Roland Garros. The very cold weather condition temporarily forced Victoria Azarenka out of the court, but on return defeated Danka Kovanic 6-1, 6-2. 256 players are competing in Paris from 27 September to 11 October in the 90th Grand Slam and 124th edition of the French Open, with a total prize purse of 38 million euros. In boxing, the Ultimate Fight Championship Island in Abu Dhabi came alive weekend as Nigerian-born New Zealander Israel Adesanya delivered a second-round technical knockout to defeat Brazil's Paulo Costa. He thus retained his middleweight title and equally extended his exploits to 20 wins, no defeat at UFC 253 in the United Arab Emirates. With Sports Update, Manzi Marcus, NTA News.
Many thanks, Amanzi. And up next is Weather Update.